All right, guys, so it's Monday, April 13th. We're going to be talking about natural logs. And this is actually the last section of notes for this chapter. So after this is going to be the test. So before I jump into the notes, let me talk about the test for a little bit. Um, First of all, the test is going to be multiple choice, and it's going to start tomorrow, so Tuesday, and it's going to close Wednesday at midnight. So it's going to go from tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. to midnight on Wednesday. So that's like a day and a half basically. Um, Now it's a timed test. So once you start it, you'll get 2 hours to complete it, and that's it. So if you haven't submitted any answers for the multiple choice questions within those 2 hours, then they'll just automatically get marked wrong. Um, and the test is going to be, since you're at home, obviously you're going to be able to use your homework and your notes if you've taken them while you're taking the test. So all those homework assignments that you wrote down, you can use them on the test this time. Now, how you're going to access it is actually through Edsby. So basically, you'll go on tomorrow. I'm going to make it available, like I said, at 8:30 in the morning. So you'll go in anytime after 8:30, and if you look on my latest posts for the day or for the class, it should say test chapter 6 or something like that, and it should have a blue button telling you to start test or something like that. So you'll click on that, and it'll start with multiple choice questions. You'll just work it out on your own notebook or whatever you're writing on. Um, and so you'll do the work on a separate paper. Then you'll select one of the answer choices, and then you'll move on to the next question. So you'll get 2 hours to complete it. The questions are all going to be random order. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I'm hoping that since you get to use your notes in the homework, then it should be pretty easy to take the test as long as you've kept them and kept them organized in your notebook. So if you have any questions, just message me on Edsby if you're having any issues, whether it's today or tomorrow. I recommend that you do it tomorrow, just in case there's any issues and we can address them then. But like I said, you get until midnight on Wednesday. All right, but anyway, so let's go do the last section of notes. So it's pretty easy for this last section. It's on what's called a natural log. And this idea right here of this number e. So basically, in math, we have this number e. We call that the natural base. There's a whole explanation behind it, but all you need to know is that e is a number and its value is 2.7. So it's kind of like pi basically. So pi is 3.14, blah, 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 blah. So think of e in that same thing. E is 2.7, and you just assume it's a number. It comes up in nature. That's the most I can say right now without going way too far in depth into this. So whenever you have a logarithm right here and you have a base e of whatever you have here, that's called a natural log. And we abbreviate a natural log as ln. So, for example, let's say you have log e3. So you have e as your base. We don't actually write it that way. We write it in the shorthand form, which would look like ln3. And so you're supposed to assume that the base is e there, but you don't actually write it. So it's kind of like it's invisible. So what you need to know is just how exponential exponential equations and logarithmic equations are inverses of each other, the same thing applies for e to the x and ln of x. They are inverses of each other. Now, going on to the properties, using that idea of inverses, what's another word for inverse? Inverse is opposite. And in math, what do opposites do? They actually cancel each other out. So in this problem, you have e to the ln of x. So e and ln are opposites of each other. So whenever e and ln are next to each other, they cancel each other out. So in the first property, you have e to the ln x. They cancel each other. You just have whatever's left. So in this case, the x. Same thing in the second part of the property. You have ln and e next to each other. So they cancel each other out. And so you're just left with x. So they have to be next to each other, nothing in between. So we're going to use those properties in order to simplify and also to solve. So first example is going to be simplifying expressions. Now there's 4 examples, but these will go really quick. So again, these are just simplifying. There's no equation to solve since there's no equal sign. So all you need to know is that whenever you have ln and e next to each other, like directly next to each other, they cancel each other out since they're inverses, opposites. So in the first one, ln and e are next to each other, so your answer is just negative 2t. On the second example, you have e to the ln. So again, they're side by side, so they cancel. You just have t minus 1 left as your answer. On the third example, again, you have ln and e directly next to each other, so they will cancel each other out. You just have 3.2 left. And then the last example, this one's a little bit different. Why is this one different from the other ones? Because this one, the e and ln, are not next to each other. So since they are not next to each other, forgot to circle that. Since they're not next to each other, that means we need to do something first before we can cancel them out. So remember, ln is just the same as a logarithm. So that means, and you can still use that property for a logarithm where if you have a number in front of the log, you can move it back to be the exponent. So I could rewrite this to be e to the ln x to the 5th power. So I move the 5 to be the exponent. And now that I've done that, now the e and ln are directly next to each other. So now I can cancel them. So then my final answer is just x to the 5th. So that one was different because you had the 5 that was sitting between them. They have to be side by side in order to cancel them out. All right, so that's just simplifying. We're going to use the same property in order to solve equations. So pretty simple. Again, as long as e and ln are directly next to each other, nothing in between, then they cancel out. So the first one, I have ln e to the 2x plus 3 equals 9. Again, they are side by side, nothing in between, so you can cancel them out. You're just left with 2x plus 3 is equal to 9. And then easy equation to solve. So minus 3, you get 2x is equal to 6. Divide both sides and you get x is equal to 3. So easy equation to solve there. Same thing on the second one. Again, make sure e and ln are side by side. If not, that doesn't work. But in this case they are, so they cancel each other out. And you have 5x minus 4 is equal to 21. So super simple, add 4 to both sides. So you get 5x is equal to 25, and then divide both sides by 5, so you get x is 5. So they don't necessarily have to come out to whole numbers, these just happen to. Just know that, like the rest of the chapter, they might come out to be fractions. So that's what it looks like when you use natural log and e for equations. So here's your homework for tonight, same as usual. Complete the homework and send me a picture of it through Edsby, through the assignment. Submit a picture there. Make sure you do it by 8:30 tomorrow morning because that's when the homework assignment is going to close and that's when the test is going to open um, for tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions and make sure you gather all your homework and everything for when the test starts tomorrow.